Okay, so this one might be old news for some of you, but somehow I only saw this the other day, and well, it speaks for itself. My first thought when I saw this was, it's gotta be fake. So I looked for the coordinates and checked it out on Google Earth for myself, and sure enough, there it was. Whichever way you spin it, this is quite clearly some kind of face. This startling image was first discovered a year or so ago now, and many have tried to debunk it, including this news channel who simply tried to pass it off as pareidolia, but we'll get to that shortly. There's said to be a lot going on over in Antarctica. It's a bit of a conspiracy theory hotspot. Hitler and an army of Nazis, aliens, a hollow earth, ancient civilizations and Atlantis are all said to be linked with this place one way or another, and they're all stories for another day. The question now is this some kind of optical illusion, pareidolia, or is it real, a man-made structure, evidence of an alien base or an ancient civilization being revealed by melting snow? I don't quite know where I stand with pareidolia. On the one hand, I think there are people out there who will honestly see whatever they want. Like, there are some questionable pictures from Mars where people really clutch at straws and you can kind of see how it's just a collection of rocks. But then there's other times where I do genuinely think I'm looking at something strange. And it's all too easy for someone to just shut down your argument and say, it's just pareidolia, case closed. What I'm saying is, I feel like pareidolia is a tool used to shut down and discredit arguments far too often. In the case of the Antarctica alien face, I'm not sure it's pareidolia. People often reference clouds for pareidolia, and it makes sense. They're constantly moving and changing shape, so sooner or later they're going to look like something familiar. But mountains? No. While they may vary in size and shape, they don't move or change, and they have a pretty distinct and common appearance. You won't see such a recognisable face in any other set of mountains. I mean, look, for one thing, it's very symmetrical. Everything seems to be in proportion, almost precisely. A lot of the times you need someone to draw the outline and highlight certain features before you can see it for yourself, whereas here, you don't need any help. So let's have a good look here. These slits, which we assume to be closed eyes, I think could quite possibly be eyebrows. If you really look at this shape, it screams eyebrow to me. And I don't want to contradict something I've just said, but if we draw some hypothetical eyes that are perhaps still hidden under the snow, it looks like it's still in proportion, so there's that. And I know we can only see one that's exposed, but you can tell there's an almost identical one on the other side. This thing above the eyebrows, some people have pointed out looks like some kind of helmet, and it too seems pretty symmetrical and in proportion. It kind of looks like some kind of medieval or Viking helmet. However, in this case, I think this is a trick of the lighting. You can see how the light gives it a triangular shape, and you've just got all this up here that's going to affect the shape. It's also hard to ignore the prominent nose and mouth, and what I find interesting is you can still make out the face shape underneath the snow. If you compare this to the Mars face, that was dismissed as deceptive shadows and beneficial lighting, which manipulated the face shape. Without shadows, it was virtually nothing. But that's if you believe that excuse. Here, this isn't a case of shadows, these are physical shapes and protrusions, and it would still look the same regardless of the lighting. I mean, just look at the detail on the nose and how it dips at the top, just like a real nose. And there's even nostrils. And I don't know if I'm just reaching here, but this almost looks like it might be some kind of detail on the cheekbones beneath the snow. I don't know. Nothing else nearby seems consistent with this face. It just stands out and looks out of place. Some other things I noticed around it were interesting too. Look to the left here. I'm genuinely not sure if this has ever been picked up before. I'm sure it probably has at some point, so I'm sorry if you already know this, but do you see what I see? Is that a triangle with the all-seeing eye in the middle of it? Now, yes, I know, before you roll your eyes, I know mountains naturally have a triangular shape, but seriously, look at this. I wouldn't be half as concerned if it wasn't already right next to a giant face. Also, hidden just to the right is a weird, almost like insignia on the ground. When you zoom in, they look almost like a load of bones on the ground or something. And then to the bottom right, something similar. Not too sure what this is. Some smaller objects sticking out the ground. Maybe these really are examples of pareidolia, as I'm struggling to identify them. Anyway, what we really need is to see what the rest of this looks like beneath the snow. It could just be that the peaks of the mountains are just conveniently aligned. But to me, it all seems a little too convenient. You could scour every inch of Antarctica and not find anything remotely similar to this. But until the snow melts, it will forever be a mystery.